All right, let's get started then. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Alan Hesketh, Director of Residential Life here at the school. I've had an opportunity to meet many of you so far this afternoon, but we have had a few rushes with lots of people coming in the door. So if I haven't had a chance to connect with you yet, please grab me later on as we head up to the family barbecue. I'd love to have a chance to chat with you and get to know a little bit about you and your family and your sons who are all joining us here at the school. It's a really exciting day for us in Harker Hall to be welcoming about 35 new students. We have a few more trickling in on late flights tonight and first thing tomorrow morning, but the vast majority of our new students are here and getting settled in, and it's looking really good over there in Harker Hall in terms of them getting into their rooms and starting to get to know some of the other kids on the floor. While we're in here for about the next hour, your sons will all be up on the field interacting and meeting our student leaders. The older looking boys who are walking around in black shirts today, they're going to be leading your sons through a series of activities over the next couple of days that will hopefully get them comfortable here at St. George's and as members of the greater Vancouver community. So they'll be doing a number of events on campus and also off campus with those student leaders to get them ready for the start of school on Wednesday morning. So it's going to be busy for them for the next couple of days. It's particularly exciting for me to welcome you. I'd like to show you, this is what Harker Hall, the first floor, looked like 2.5 weeks ago. So it's been a bit of a rush to get ready for you, and if we haven't been quite as quick getting back to some of your emails and phone calls in the last couple of days, it's because as they've been laying carpet, the staff have been following them with vacuum cleaners and beds and sheets and getting everything organized and ready for your sons to arrive. So it's been a fun little time in Harker Hall, and we're thrilled that things came together in time for move-in day today. Just a quick note about that. Obviously, we've had lots of people moving throughout the building over the day. You've been up and down the stairs many times, I'm sure, with bags and boxes and clothing items. As we move into the next couple of days, we will ask you to start to meet your sons out in the foyer. And that's really for the privacy of the boys who are now living in the house. We ask that adults stay down in the foyer area. A number of my slides here, my Mandarin's really poor. So we've put a couple of translated slides that are going to pop up periodically just so that you're aware of what's going on there. A little bit about our team. Your son has been assigned to a member of our team over in Harker Hall. There are 12 house parents plus myself, and you will have that person as your primary contact over the course of the year. So for most issues related to your son, please be in touch with that house parent. Many of them were here today. Almost all of them were able to make it here today. Hopefully you had a chance to connect with that person. The house is divided into the 3 separate floors, and each one of those floors has a separate team on it. So this was our Stewart floor team. All 4 of these staff will be working on a regular basis with our grade 8 and 9 boys who live down on the first floor. Mr. Chapman, if your son is on the 3rd floor, you could have Mr. Chapman as your advisor. He works on the 1st floor and on the 3rd floor, and that's why he will have some advisees from the 3rd floor. He actually lives on the 3rd floor as well, so that's why he's there. Our 2nd floor team, you've probably seen most of these faces around today. Mr. Chamberlain is the lead house parent for Macmillan floor, the 2nd floor in Harker Hall, and he will handle a lot of the operations specifically related to the 2nd floor and that group of boys, and the other 3 are there to support him. And on the top floor, we've got Mr. Blackman as our lead house parent up on the top floor, and there are the 3 additional staff plus Mr. Chapman, who will also be working up there. So make sure you know who your son's advisor is. It should be printed on that introductory sheet that your son received when you came, and you can be in touch with that person. You should expect to receive an email from them within the next couple of days as well, introducing themselves and giving you their contact information so that you can be in touch with them. A few other really important faces around the house. Ms. Bodut shows up twice. She's a house parent, but she's also in charge of health services here at the school. So she's our lead nurse and has a large team of nurses, some of whom you may have met this afternoon, working for her. And Ms. Hamilton is our program assistant and really keeps Harker Hall running from day to day. So she is the person who the boys see first thing in the morning. She's also the person they see when they return home after school before our house parent teams start work at 5 o'clock each night. And again, any issues that you have that can't be addressed by the house parents, that will get directed to me. But we would ask that you please first have contact with your son's house parent, because that keeps that communication open so they're really aware of what's going on with your son. To be in touch with us, you will have the option of picking up one of our little cards in Harker Hall, but we ask that you phone into our main central phone number. That allows you to connect to the person who's actually on duty at the time, which means that you have a greater chance of talking to somebody who's in Harker Hall and able to help you if you have a question or concern. You can also specifically request through that phone number to speak to a specific staff member, but the primary use of that is to contact that duty person. This is that phone number. You will want that in your phones at some point in time. Maybe take a picture of that. And again, we have little cards that you can pick up in Harker Hall. Your son's also wearing that phone number on a lanyard around his neck. We try to put it in as many places as possible so that he is able to get in touch with us. So I'll give you a second on that one. Great. This afternoon we have a number of special guests who are with us. I'm going to ask them to come up and speak briefly about their role here at the school, and in many cases the times that you might be hearing from them throughout the year. I'm going to ask them to use a microphone, not because it's particularly large room or that they really need the amplification, but because we do record all of our information sessions so that families who aren't here, couldn't make it, or family members who would like to watch the information again can do so through our website later on. Dr. Matthews is our headmaster. I'll ask him to come up and say a few words. I need to put a battery in the microphone. Give me 1 second. And if you can stand sort of in that area would be great.
Thank you very much, Alan, and good afternoon, everyone. Really only 2 or 3 quick points for me this afternoon, and I think that the first point I want to make is, in addition to a welcome, is to thank you as new parents for choosing St. George's. I recognize there are other independent schools out there, other boarding schools. I think St. George's is an extraordinary place, and I'm happy that you think the same. One of the things that stands out about the school, in my mind, is our commitment to our mission. And you don't need to memorize it, but I will remind you nevertheless. Our mission is building fine young men, one boy at a time. In the way in which I see it, that means that our job here at St. George's, our calling, is to help your son become the very best human being he is capable of becoming, recognizing that every boy is different and every boy is unique. And it's that mission that certainly I use in my role as headmaster as my key touchstone when I'm making decisions and when I'm leading the school along with senior management and the faculty. The other comment I'd make is that your son and you are joining a very special community. And I have no hesitation in saying that your son will have a wonderful time here at the school. Just before coming here, I was working on my opening presentation for faculty and staff. And I was going through the most recent student survey. And it's interesting to see that consistently, virtually across the board, the happiest, the most satisfied, and the most engaged students at St. George's are the boarders. And it begs the question, why? Why is a boarder more satisfied, more engaged, and happier than your average day boy? And my answer is really threefold. First of all, he's part of a community which is 24/7. And the relationships that he has with his buddies, his brothers, as he will call them eventually, but also with the house parents and other members of faculty and staff, I think are much deeper than many of the relationships that day boys have, because it is a 24/7 community. The second piece for me is that a boarder has access to a wide range of programs. So it's not just the standard academic and co-curricular programs, but it's the things that happen in Harker Hall in the evening and on weekends and sometimes on holidays and long weekends. And that ranges from the opportunity to work one-on-one with university and personal counselors through to a whole range of fun-based recreational activities, skiing, go car racing, you name it. Alan will probably tell you more about that. And then I think the third factor contributing to that high level of satisfaction and engagement is the fact that the Harker Hall community, how would I put this? It's probably the most difficult thing to say, but it's about relationships. And it's something that you will experience and your son will experience in ways that are difficult to describe. And the example that I would give is every year, the last formal dinner, we acknowledge the graduating boarders. And the house parents speak about each boy and their relationship, the boy's involvement and contribution to Harker Hall. And the extraordinary thing about that is that by the end of the evening, there's hardly a dry eye in the house. And men and young men often don't cry in public, right? But what you'll see in Harker Hall is the depth of the connection and the relationships often results in that kind of tearful farewell. A final word of advice. The more involved your son is in Harker Hall, the more satisfying the experience will be, right? So the more you can support him and encourage him to be present in the evenings, on weekends, but also to contribute in a variety of ways and to get involved in a variety of ways, the better the experience will be. Intrinsically, that's a huge benefit, but I also find it helpful when I'm writing letters of reference in the fall term of a boy's grade 12 year. And it's quite remarkable how easy it is to write a positive letter of support for a boarder who has not only done well academically, but has been involved in all aspects of Harker Hall and school life. So for a whole bunch of reasons, if you could support your son and encourage him to get involved, I would be appreciative, and he'll be the key beneficiary of that. So once again, thank you for choosing St. George's. Welcome, and I look forward to chatting to you over dinner. Mr. Hesketh.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Mr. Kern, who is joining us this year as our new principal of the senior school.
Good afternoon, everyone. I get to extend a welcome on behalf of the senior school. And thank you very much, as well as Dr. Matthews has said, for choosing St. George's. Your boys, I guess my job to share with you is that when your boys leave Harker Hall and they start walking to the senior school, as they enter the school, I'm responsible for them. It's my job to work with our faculty, with our administrators, to make sure that your boys are thriving while they're at school. And one of the things I wanted to share with you is that as your boys come into the senior school, one of the things that I've noticed is that they have the same expectations as every other boy in our school. And in fact, what I've found is that it's very difficult for us to know the difference when they're at school between a day boy and between a boarder. And I think that's really good for your son, because the expectation for every one of our boys is that they come to school, that they engage, that they connect with their friends, they connect with their teachers, they take ownership over their learning, right? And then ultimately, we want all of our boys to achieve, and we want them to achieve their personal excellence. And so one of the things you'll find this year as your boys come into the school academically is your teachers will connect with you. They will make sure that you know what is happening in the classroom. Your boys will be challenged, right? I can almost guarantee that they will have some days where they're going to find their schoolwork might be challenging, it might be difficult. But I also can assure you that there will be support to help them achieve and overcome those challenges. So I welcome you to the senior school. After the boys finish their school at 3:15, they are all involved with our co-curricular programs. So they'll be involved with games and with clubs. And then at the end of the day, they come back to Harker Hall. So I actually work very closely with Mr. Hesketh to make sure on his behalf, when the boys come home, they've got their organization, they've got their homework, they've got all the things that they need to get ready for the next day. And I think, as Dr. Matthews said, you put that all together and your boys are going to have a great experience over the next year. So welcome, and I too enjoy talking with you during dinner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Adrienne Davidson, our Director of Advancement.
So, hi, I'm Adrienne Davidson, the Director of Advancement. If I can just briefly tell you what advancement is at a school like ours. Effectively, our department of about 10 people helps to advance the mission of the school, which is, as you know, to build fine young men, one boy at a time. And the way that we do that is threefold. In my department, we have a communications team, and they are responsible for all manner of different kinds of publications, some of which you will see on the table at the back of the room. Please feel free to pick copies up. We put a weekly e-newsletter together, which is communicated to all parents. And we do social media. We are also in charge of the website. I'll come back to the communications piece. The other thing that we do is the Georgian Relations. This is our alumni office. The gentleman at the back of the room, who's also a lead house parent, Chris Blackman, he is the head of Georgian Relations. So your boys aren't Georgians yet, but they will be. When they graduate from St. George's, they become Georgians for life, which means that you're going to be Georgian parents for life. And we want to be sure that we keep you connected, not just during your time at the school while your son is here, but afterwards, should you choose to. The other thing that we are responsible for is fundraising. St. George's is an independent school. It's not private. No one owns it. It's independent. We are a registered charitable organization. And we raise quite a lot of money every year for the things that make St. George's extra special. And we do that with the help of our parents and our Georgians. We also right now are in the midst of a capital campaign to build a new two new senior academic halls at the senior school. They should, well, all going well, with the fundraising and with the construction, within a couple of years, those buildings could be either open or well underway, which means for many of you that your sons will actually experience the benefits of those facilities. The thing that makes St. George's special, if you ask any parent who's already here or any alumni that you might run into, was the feeling of community, and Dr. Matthews alluded to it, and so did Mr. Kern. My challenge is, how do we build community with you folk if you're not here? And please help me if you've got ideas about that. One of the key ways, though, is to make sure we keep communications open with you. So first and foremost, all of those different publications, website, e-news, please do read them and feel that you are connected to the school. If you actually still live in Vancouver some of the time, please also feel free to come and get involved in the school in some fashion while you're here. You will be invited to things. You may or may not be in town and able to come, but we want you to know that you're always welcome. We would love for you to be here and say, you know, I'm only in town for a week. Is there anything I can do? Can you help me get engaged? Can you help me to learn more? Our doors are always open in advancement. Please feel free to contact us with that. A couple of the folk on my staff also are Mandarin speaking, because I'm not. I'm horrible at it. We do, with the other way that you might be able to get to know us better, of course, is you all come from some fantastic countries in the world, and we love to travel, so feel free to invite us. We'll come visit you wherever you are. We do actually have quite a travel schedule, both in admissions and in advancement, where we do actually get to different parts of the world, and it may be that you are in those parts of the world. When we go, Dr. Matthews and I travel quite a lot in various places, and admissions go to even more. Please feel free to come out. You are welcome. You are part of the community, and we really do like to see you and talk to you. So any questions? I'll see you at dinner.
Next up, we have an individual who keeps the school running day to day and making sure that the students have places to go, classrooms to be in, and teachers to teach them. Mr. Collins is responsible for all the academic components of the school, and he'll spend a few minutes speaking about that.
Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you and your sons to St. George's as well. As it says on the screen, I'm associate principal. There's actually two associate principals. I'm associate principal academics, and Brian Lee is associate principal of student life. Associate principal academics means I'm responsible, have overall responsibility for everything to do with academics at the school. The area of associate principal academics also includes university counseling, and you saw the picture of Christine Wessler on the screen as one of the house parents. And it also includes the area of learning support. So students who need extra support, that's part of our area as well. Things that I look after are course offerings, course selection, course counseling, putting student timetables together, marks, report cards, parent-teacher conferences, all of those kind of things. So what we're working on right now is putting the final touches on student schedules for the coming year, and we'll make those available on the parent portal sometime on Tuesday. As we work our way through the year, some of you may not be able to hear for Meet the Teacher Evening, which is, I think it's on September 24th. And then when you get the report cards, all of that will be coordinated out of my office. And so we take students coming into grade 8, working through all their programs, all their courses, and work with them all the way through until Christine helps them out the door and off to university when they leave us at the end of grade 12. So once again, welcome to St. George's, and I really look forward to working with you and with your sons.
Thank you. So many of those individuals will be available at dinner. If you have questions or would like to follow up with them about anything, they'd be thrilled to speak to you. If any of you have to leave in the meantime, please do feel free and we'll catch up at dinner time. Moving on, a few minutes about our program in Harker Hall and the kinds of things that your boys will be involved in over the next 10 months. Why boarding? For many of you, you've probably chosen a boarding school for your program for one of two reasons. The first one, or perhaps both, that would be the academic experience, and the other part of it could be the life skills experience, the opportunity to live and work with others and have a wide range of experiences within a very dynamic community. The program that we offer in Harker Hall goes beyond what the school offers, and we have specific objectives and goals that we're working on teaching your students in these areas. We work from a residential life curriculum that focuses on 5 key areas. So we focus on academic success and support, setting your students up to do their very best academically over the course of their time with us. Personal development as they grow up and grow older. Practical life skills. So many of them are coming in not knowing how to wash the dishes. They're all going to go out knowing how to wash dishes. That's a promise that I make to you. Personal health and wellness is a big piece of that, and we have a wonderful nursing staff who work with us to make sure that we're giving your sons the information and the experiences that they need to be well during their time with us. And then a large element of cultural and social awareness. So for many students, this is a Canadian experience, potentially for the first time, and many of the opportunities that we offer are very unique to Vancouver and the West Coast. It's a very diverse community. One of the things that makes it such a wonderful place is that there are boys coming to us from 18 different countries around the world. So it's a very unique community. It's a very inclusive community. Lots of really interesting characters who come together to form the St. George's and Harker Hall communities. I will be speaking briefly about some information that came out of this handbook. So your sons should have received a copy of this in paper form when they went through and registered this morning or this afternoon. They should have received a number of documents, including one of these. This is the same document that you would have received by email several weeks ago. So hopefully you've had a chance to review that. If not, you might grab a copy and poke through yourself. It's got a lot of information about how Harker Hall works on a day-to-day basis. The boys will become quite familiar with this over the next couple of days as we get them introduced to our way of doing things. Day-to-day life in Harker Hall is quite structured. There is not a whole lot of free time. There are certain portions of the week where they get a fair amount of choice, but on a daily basis, because of their commitment to sporting programs after school, clubs, theater, service, all the other things that we offer at the school, they don't have a lot of time. And within that, there are also very high expectations. Day-to-day life is pretty straightforward. A lot of this is quite small, so you may not be able to read it, but we have the boys up and having breakfast each morning between 7 and 8. So that's our wake-up time. For many of them, it's about 7:55 as the school year moves along. They start school at 8:30 in the morning, so we make sure that they're out of Harker Hall at 8:15 and on their way. And then it's a busy day at school. Mr. Kern takes care of it from there. We have, I marked our feeding times on the board. Feeding is very important to the boys. Food is a huge part of our day. So we have breakfast, we have morning snack, we have lunch. At 3:15, classes end, and one of two things will happen. Either the boys will go to their sport or club activity, or they'll come back to Harker Hall. Those are the two options that they've got. we need to know if they're going somewhere else. So they always come back to Harker Hall, and then they can head out to other locations from there. We have afternoon snack after school, and then we have dinner each night from 5:30 to 6:30. And it's a drop-in style dinner, with the exception of a few special days throughout the year. So the boys come for dinner over in the junior school dining hall, and then they head back to get ready for our study time. We have study time each evening. That goes sort of from 7 o'clock until 8:30. I'll talk briefly about that in a second. Then we have another feeding. We do evening snack. And then we start into our nighttime routines. And a lot of those bits and pieces with the lights out and the computer and technology pieces I'll get into in just a second. For our senior students, they'll study in their rooms. Most of the time, they each have their own workspace and desk. Our grade 8s will study in a common space. So the large common room, they'll each have their own little desk space that they can work at. We also offer lots of opportunities for the boys to work in group spaces. There's, based on the type of learning that our students are doing at school, they often don't need to do their homework by themselves. They're often working on something with their colleagues to get ready for the next day. And so we've provided lots of opportunities for them to work in that group environment in special places within the building, so that those who do need to do quiet work on their own also have that. It is a static study time each night. It's from 7 to 8:30. We do attendance and announcements each night at 6:45. That's not a good time to try and get in touch with your son. That's the time when we're really trying to have them focus on that academic piece. So if you can avoid calling in particular, or dropping in between sort of 6:45 and 8:30. Some of the boys will choose to study long beyond that. Certainly our senior students, our grade 11s and 12s, may have lots more homework to do, and they start a little early and they keep going a little late. But for the grade 8s, sometimes it's a bit of a push to get them to keep studying until 8:30. But we try. I mentioned the technology piece, and technology has become a really important part of our learning and a really important part of the boys' lives. However, we do have a policy about taking those electronic devices and putting them away, and that's part of our routines for bed. We have done some research and we've worked with some experts to determine what the best practice is for helping our students get a good night's rest, and a big piece of that is disconnecting from the technology, putting that away so that they have the opportunity to wind down and get ready for bed in the evening. Our grade 8s and 9s hand in their computers and their phones each night at 8:30, so right after that prep time. If you're trying to get in touch with your son, earlier in the day is better. That after school and dinner time is a good time to phone if you need to make a phone call, because at 8:30 the computers will be going in the large metal boxes that you would have seen in each one of the common rooms. On the weekends, they get to keep their computers a little bit longer. They might be watching a movie or something like that. Maybe they're studying. Probably not on Friday evening at 10:30, but it's possible. They get to hang on to the computers for a little bit longer and then hand them in at that point in time. The grade 10 and 11 level, it's a little bit later. We recognize that those boys do need a bit more time to do their work. They also have a slightly later bedtime, so they'll hang on to their computers until 10 o'clock during the week, and then again 10:30 on the weekends. We do expect students to have a laptop computer. We don't allow desktop computers in Harker Hall. There simply isn't the space, and it isn't very useful. They need that tool to be able to take to school, to work in groups, to do presentations. There's so many things at the school that require it. A desktop is just not suitable, so we do ask them to have a laptop. And the other piece is that in order to leave Harker Hall, we need to be able to communicate with your son. So it's essential that they have a cellular phone. That said, we would like for them to have one computer and one phone. And the reason for that is because it becomes quite challenging for us at 8:30 and 10 o'clock at night when we have to chase down 3 computers and 5 phones from your son, especially if we don't know about those initially. So in order for the boys to have more than one device with them, they need to let us know about that. They need to have permission for that, so that everyone is aware, and then we keep track of how many devices we need to take away from them in the evening. And what we have found through the last several years of enacting this technology policy is that our boys are getting a much better night's sleep by not having that distraction. And I think if we compare information about our boarding students whose phones we have confiscated and our day students who may potentially have those in the evening, I think our boarding students will actually report that they get a better night's sleep because there are fewer distractions. So that's very important to us and our community. Bedtimes are essential. The boys don't necessarily like it, but that routine is a really important part of what we do. The bedtime is staggered, so our grade 8s and 9s have an earlier bedtime at 10 o'clock. Our grade 10s and 11s go to bed at 10:30, and our grade 12s go to bed at 11 p.m. each night. On the weekend, we let them stay up a little bit later. Briefly mentioning about some of the services that we have in Harker Hall, so I'm going to just touch on each one of these things. We do have a laundry service, so the boys will receive a yellow bag this week that they will put their dirty clothes into, and they have some choices. They can send it out. We send it out twice a week. We would on Monday, it comes back on Thursday, or they can send it on a Thursday and it comes back on Monday. And all of them will learn how to use this system next week when we do our first laundry day. They also have the option of doing their own laundry. We have laundry machines available on each floor in Harker Hall, and interestingly enough, many of them choose to take advantage of that. A lot of the boys like washing their own clothes rather than sending it out. I myself would rather put it all in a bag and have somebody else do it, but they really seem to like doing the laundry. So they'll learn how to do that. We'll give them a little mini course on how to use our machines, and then they can sign up for times and do their own laundry. Tutors. We offer a range of academic support in Harker Hall. We have specific supports in the area of English, math, and science who work in Harker Hall periodically throughout the week. Also, our house parents represent a wide range of different specialty areas from our faculty. So there's also the opportunity to get support from the various house parents. In some cases, families decide that it's appropriate for their son to receive additional tutoring support from outside of our community. And what we would ask is that you make arrangements for the tutors to come to Harker Hall to work in either that tutor boardroom area outside the common room, over in the cafeteria, or another quiet space. And we're happy to help make arrangements for those quiet spaces. We do not allow the students to go off campus for tutoring during the week. And that's very important. It's just too disruptive with the number of commitments that they have. They're often missing meals because of that. It's just not the situation we want to be putting the boys in. So all the tutoring happens on site with us during the week. If it's necessary to do some tutoring on the weekend, we encourage you to keep it to a small chunk of time in the morning. Often on Sunday is a better choice because we have so many things going on Friday and Saturday, and usually in Sunday afternoon. So Sunday morning, if they need to do some additional tutor work, Sunday morning is a good choice for that. Health services. We have nurses in the building each day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and they're also on call 24 hours a day. So the boys have access to health care and support at any point in time. They can also check in with a nurse at the senior school while they're up at the other campus. If they're not feeling well, it's really important that our nursing staff find out about that right away so that they can come up with an appropriate care plan. If the boys have appointments, they need to go to the dentist or they need to see the doctor, we have a doctor who comes to Harker Hall every week, usually Tuesday evenings. The boys can make an appointment to see Dr. McDonald. If there's other special needs, we can also arrange that. If you have a local family physician or dentist that your son will be seeing, it's important that he shares that information that he's going to an appointment with our staff in the health team so that they can also follow up afterwards and just stay in the loop and know what's going on with all the people in our care. On the same note, the health side of things, the boys have access to a small fitness center. If you haven't seen that, maybe on your tour later on throughout the building, have a quick peek. We have a fitness center that the boys have access to. They also have access to some of the senior school facilities, particularly on the weekends, so they can head up to the senior campus and make use of the facilities there. It's very popular with a lot of our students. Banking and money. This is an interesting issue. We would ask you to make arrangements with your son to do something good with the money that he may have with him. Every year there are challenges when students have large quantities of cash lying around that they don't take care of. And it's not a pleasant situation, but things sometimes go missing, or they lose it, or it gets left behind somewhere. We often find wallets on the bus at the end of an activity fallen out of their pocket. It's best for you to set up a bank account, one of the banks on Dunbar, for your son. We can also help facilitate that if necessary. And then they use a debit card for purchases and keep very little cash on hand. There's really no need for large quantities of money. If they do have large quantities of money with them, we would encourage leaving it with our staff in the front office. We have a safe that it gets locked into, and then the boys can come and collect whatever they need whenever they need it. It's a small inconvenience for them to do that, but it's much less inconvenient than losing the money that they may have brought with them. So we really encourage that. Moving to some procedural things for you. The first one I wanted to mention is attendance. And you would have seen a lot of computer screens in the front hallway of Harker Hall. Keeping track of 112 boys is a challenge. And we need their help, and we need your help to make sure that we know where everybody is. They must sign in and they must sign out every time they enter or exit from the building. That's so that we can keep track of where people are. Each student will receive a swipe card that's assigned to them. That allows them to get into the building. It opens the doors. It opens the doors to the dining hall so they can get their food. It allows them to sign in at dinner and get food, so that's an important thing. And then the attendance functions. If they lose those, they're not cheap to replace, and that will appear as a bill on your student account. Hopefully that doesn't happen too often, but you may see one of those over the course of your time with us at the school. In order to leave Harker Hall, they will be using that computer to sign out and let us know where they're going, but the computer does not give them permission to go. They must check in with the adult who's on duty. So they must speak to the house parent or myself or one of the other adults who's working in the building, ask permission to go wherever it is that they're planning on going before they sign out. And I will speak briefly about where they can go and what they can do. This is a map that you probably can't see of the area, but we're over here at the school. That's this. This is Dunbar Street. And the boys like to go to Dunbar Street. There's lots of little stores and shops and sushi and ice cream, which seem to be the most popular things. They will spend quite a bit of time going up there. We have Dunbar Leave, which is anywhere between 16th Avenue and the far end of the street, which is 41st Avenue. They have the freedom to be able to go up there. At the younger grades, we ask them to go up not by themselves. We ask them to go up with a buddy. Our senior students, of course, have the independence to be able to go up on their own. But there's a few, the most popular items I've kind of listed there that they like to go to. And looking down the other end of the street, they don't tend to get all the way down the bottom end of the street very often, but every now and then they might be looking for groceries or one of the other little shops. That's an area that they will frequently visit. And they will ask permission to go. They'll let us know when they're going to be going there, when they're coming back. That's a regular piece of it. To go further than that, we have some guidelines, and these are all outlined in our student handbook. The Dunbar Leave situation, you can see if they're in grade 8 and 9, there are different rules than if they're in grade 10, 11, or 12. If they're going to be going outside of that Dunbar area, that's considered city leave, and we have some basic rules for them. The leave is expected to be under 10 hours. And 10 hours seems like a really long time until you've ridden Vancouver Transit, at which point in time you'll realize that 10 hours goes by very quickly. If the boys are going downtown to go to a movie, it can take them easily an hour to an hour and a half to ride the bus. They might get in line for the movie tickets, watch the movie for 2 hours. They might grab a snack afterwards. It takes them half an hour, 45 minutes. And then it'll take them an hour and a bit on the bus to get all the way back to Harker Hall. So all of a sudden, just to go see a movie, it can be a 6 to 7 hour operation. However, we don't want them to be gone for too long, so we have a general guideline that it's about 10 hours that they can be away. At the younger levels, they must travel in groups of 2 or larger, and they must check in by phone every 3 hours. So they phone us that duty phone number. They'll talk to the person on duty, let them know where they are and what they're doing every 3 hours so that we have an idea of where they are and what's going on. If they want to be out for longer than 10 hours, they need special permission. The older levels, there are some slightly different rules, but I encourage you to have a look through the booklet so that you know what our policies and guidelines are and what the sort of supervision is for your sons while they're out enjoying Vancouver. There's a second piece to that, and that's a chart that helps us in making decisions about what is and is not okay for them to be doing. Again, this is in that handbook, and I encourage you to have a look at it. Level 1 activities are the things that we expect them to be doing on a regular basis, and they're not going to need a whole lot of additional permission or planning. If they're going to a school event or if they're going to a local music lesson or something like that, there's not a lot of information we're going to ask from them. We're going to ask where they're going, who they're going with, when they're coming back, how are they getting there, do they have their phone, will they remember to phone us every couple of hours. If they're planning on doing something a bit more extensive, then we're going to be looking for more details from them. And if they're planning on one of these things, like going past curfew at night, or doing something overnight, or going to a late night movie, a dance, a concert, or a party, or any activity that might involve an element of risk, they need to have a conversation with us before they try to go and sign out to do that activity. So that usually means that before they buy the concert tickets, they would talk to the house staff and make sure that it's okay for them to come back a little bit late that evening or to be out for a few extra hours. Please do have a look at that. It's all in the handbook. The second piece of that leave policy is that they must have a phone that allows them to get in touch with us. So it has to be on and functioning and have battery, which is the first challenge. They have to have our phone number in it, and it has to be the phone number that they've given to us so that we can get in touch with them if we need to as well. On the weekend, some students may choose to go and visit family or a family friend, or you might be visiting for the weekend and would like to take the boy out for something special. We have a weekend leave procedure. And the way this works is that by Wednesday night, your son will go onto the database, the website, and tell us where he's planning on going and what he's planning on doing and who he's planning on being with, who's going to be responsible for him for the weekend. What will happen is that you as the parents will then receive an email based on the address you gave to our guys when you were signing in today. You'll get a message and it'll look something along the lines of this. It says your son has provided details for an upcoming leave. If you consent to them, you must confirm this information, and it gives you a little link to click on. When you click on the link, it will take you to our website. I'm going to demonstrate that very briefly. You need to approve that he is going on that leave before he's able to go out. And it's really important that we have that information back by Thursday night. If the leave is not approved by Friday morning, then he's not permitted to do that over the weekend. It's very difficult for us to chase down the attendance on 112 students, so we need that information done well in advance. And the boys have access to many weeks ahead being able to plan and put those details in so that you can approve it, and then they've got a schedule of when they'll be with us and when they might be visiting family or friends. So very briefly, I'll just show you that. This is the website for Harker Hall. You can click on the link in the email, or you can go to the school website and it will lead you here. When you log in, you're logging in as a family. If you happen to lose or forget your password, I get about 50 emails like this a month. There's a button that says Forgot Password. Just click on that, type in your email address, and it will send you a new password. You'll log in. I have a super secret. Oops, I can't spell my own name. Yes, yes. I don't know my own password. I'm in, yay, perfect. Okay, so this is my parent account. So the parent is signing in for me. There's a lot of information available to you as families about the things that are going on, but one of the really key pieces of this is that leave information. So the tab across the top says leave information. It will tell you what your son is planning on doing for the coming weekends. So at the moment on September 18th to 20th, I haven't actually filled out the form yet, but I was planning on going to visit my family on the 25th to the 27th. That's this second bar. What you would do is click on that. It's going to tell you what my plans actually are. So I'm going to get picked up at 3:30 and I'm coming back just after 6 o'clock on the Sunday. And you're going to choose either I give permission or I do not give permission. So it's important if you're giving permission for your son to be away that you are aware of what the arrangements are. If he's going to a friend's house, please make sure that you've communicated with your son and understand what the parameters of supervision are. If you have questions about that, please contact us in Harker Hall. We'd be happy to follow that up with you to make sure that there's a good arrangement and good supervision in place. If you do give permission, you'll choose I give permission and save that. That's now been approved. Once it's approved, when your son goes to sign out on the Friday afternoon on the computer, it'll actually give him that option to press that button that says that he's going on that weekend leave. So it's really an important process. You'll get some more instructions and the first initial password information sent to you in a couple of weeks. Other key things on the website, just while we're here, I will point out, you have access to information about our calendar, all the activities. September's not a busy month for us at all. We've got something basically every night. Different activities that are being organized and run. So we've got our big Anvil Island weekend coming up. We've got a laser tag. We're going go-karting. We've got some volunteering with St. Philip's Church. We're volunteering with Dunbar Harvest Festival and at the AIDS Walk. We're going cycling in Stanley Park. One of our student leaders is running a little cooking session. We've got some laundry workshops, dodgeball, lots of things going on in September. The boys are going to be busy. You can see all of that, and one of the things that's quite interesting is you can see which events your son has signed up for. So that's just a little tool to help you know kind of how involved and engaged your son is. This list should get quite long by the end of the year. You also have information available to you. This session right now we are recording. It will get posted on the website, and a lot of the other key information sessions that are offered at the school throughout the year will be posted on here. So you can click on any of these information sessions and it will show it to you. We also typically will do the band concerts at the beginning and end of the year, so you can watch the band concert from home if you are unable to attend in person. The other piece you may find interesting is our blog. That's a little picture from today. We tend to update this a couple of times a week with pictures and information, things that are going on in Harker Hall. So it's a great opportunity for you to check in and kind of see some of the day-to-day life, things that are happening in residence. If you need to get in touch with staff, there's a button at the top that lists the email and contact information for all of our staff. So a little bit of a directory there as well. If you have problems or challenges with the website, please do let us know. It's an important tool for us to communicate with you, and we want to make sure that you're able to use it. Okay, continuing on. Very important, all students must be back on Sunday evenings by 6:30 p.m. We have attendance at 6:45. We don't want them coming through the door at 6:45 because they still have their bags and their stuff and the snack that they were eating with them. They need a few minutes to get organized and ready for attendance and then for our study time on Sunday evenings. So it is required that families have their sons back by 6:30. Please plan your special family events for Friday evening or Saturday evening or Sunday at lunch. We ask that the boys are not out past 6:30 on that Sunday because it's very disruptive to our weekly startup and making sure that our community comes back together on Sunday evenings. Over the next couple of weeks, your sons are not going to be permitted out on leave on the weekend. It's really important to us that they connect with our community, that they get to know the other boys, and that they get involved in lots of activities. And what we have seen is that if they choose to do that very early in the year, they make a much stronger connection with our community and with each other. So for the first 4 weeks this year, right up until Thanksgiving, there's no weekend leave. They'll be with us each of those weekends. It also helps them get over that transition piece. It's quite difficult if they go home after a week and then come back. If you would like to take them out for a snack on a Saturday afternoon, that's okay. But each of those nights will be spent in Harker Hall right up until Thanksgiving. After that time, our expectation is that the boys are with us at least 50% of the time. So at least half of their weekends should be spent in Harker Hall. That's in order for them to get the benefit of the boarding experience. If you are local for a period of time and they're spending a lot of time at home on the weekends, they don't gain the benefits. They lose that connection with our community. That's really, really an important piece. So we ask for a maximum of 50% of the time away from Harker Hall. On the weekends, life looks a little bit different. The boys don't like to get up early on the weekends, so instead we have 10:30 is our wake-up time and get-go time in the Saturday and Sunday. We get up, we have attendance, and then we go right into breakfast or a brunch on the weekend. The day is then relatively unstructured. We do that brunch at 10:30 in the morning, we do dinner at 5:30 at night, and the time in between is flexible. There are often those activities going on. They might be afternoon activities, they might be evening activities, but then there's also the opportunity for the boys to go up onto the field and kick the ball around, go have a snack up on Dunbar, go over to the senior school and take advantage of the facilities that are over there, or perhaps something else in the city. So it's a little bit less structured, but they do have a number of things available to them. We do additional attendance on the weekend at 6:45 and then at 10:30 at night. That's our computer hand-in time. And then all of our students have a midnight bedtime on Friday and Saturday nights. So they get to stay up a little bit later. There's usually a movie going on in the common room. If you are interested in looking at that schedule, it is found in the middle pages in that handbook. Okay, moving on a little bit to special events and some of the other activities that we offer. This is what makes Harker Hall really special, is that we come together as a community for lots of different things. This is a picture from our staff versus student basketball game that we host each December. Usually the staff win, by the way. It's close sometimes though. But it's a really fun community event where everybody comes together. We also have special dinners. This is a picture from our formal dinner where we all get together and have dinner at the senior school in the large dining hall there. It's a really fun celebration of our community, about 5 times over the course of the year. In addition to those special events, we have our activities program, and you would have received a copy of this activities package by email. I'm sorry about that awful noise that keeps coming on there. The activities package, which again came out by email, and there are copies available in Harker Hall. The back half of that is the forms package, and we really need you to return that forms package before you leave because it allows your son to do all of the things that we do. There are some sections that are really essential. In particular, the section at the front is required for our opening weekend on Anvil Island, which is next weekend. We go to a camp that's about an hour north of the city on an island. It's really fun, but your son needs permission to be able to do things when we get to the island, so we would definitely need this paperwork completed. A little bit about that. There's an awesome water slide. They're coming off the water slide there. They'll be doing all kinds of things, camp games. They'll be doing initiative challenges where they have to work with other students from their grade or from their floor. They're going to be involved in meal prep and helping to clean up our dishes afterwards as part of that activity. They sleep in little cabins. It's a really fun, really enjoyable experience that brings our community together. So that's this coming weekend, just a couple of days away. We'll be heading out to do that. We have an intramural program, so each of the boys will be assigned by this weekend. They're going to receive a colored t-shirt that represents the house that they're a part of, and throughout the year we have all kinds of different activities that they do with their house teams. So that the dodgeball that we've got happening lots and lots throughout September, they'll play one color against another color as part of that. The activities program also offers them the opportunity to do all kinds of things that maybe they haven't done before. This was a trip we did last year to the caves on Vancouver Island. They got to put on helmets and boots, and off we went to explore the caves. Some of the activities are really provide an opportunity to explore and experience the West Coast. This is a small group that went and hiked the Chief, which is a very popular hike up in the Squamish area last year. Some of our activities are small. The boys come over to my kitchen and cook food and make a mess. And then I get to clean it. It's pretty fun. And there's lots of the things that the boys enjoy doing, like go-karting and laser tag. We'll go to some sports events. We might go to the aquarium. Lots of things happening throughout the year. Not all of them are necessarily outlined in this information package because we don't need a permission form signed to go to the aquarium, but we do need a permission form signed to go go-karting. So that's why there's certain forms in the package, but we'll be busy with a wide range of things throughout the year. To fill those forms out, you'll see a little sheet. What you're going to do is initial in the different boxes of the activities you give your son permission to do. If there's something that you're not comfortable with, you would not like him to participate in a certain activity, you just don't initial that. One that often comes up is if your son is a very weak swimmer, you might not want him going swimming in the ocean. So you would choose to leave that box blank, and that lets us know that he should not be swimming in the ocean. You can change that permission at any time throughout the year. You just need to submit a new form. But we encourage you to complete the forms and provide as much permission as you're comfortable with now so that we don't have to chase down the paperwork and send it internationally later on. I will briefly mention long weekends. You would have seen a sheet of paper that looks like this as part of one of the email attachments. This is a schedule of all the long weekends that we have over the course of the year. Harker Hall closes over the winter break and over the March break. Those are the times when we're completely closed and you must take your children back. The rest of the time we will do things with them. We've got a number of open weekends, so Thanksgiving, we've got a professional development day, the May long weekend. We're open and fully operational during that time. And we have a number of optional closure weekends. So 3 times at each of our term breaks in November, the second one's in February, and the third one's in April this year, where Harker Hall closes and most of the students will choose to go home because it's a 4-day weekend. But if they're traveling, would have to travel long distances, that may not be practical. And what we will offer is a program instead that the boys can choose to get involved in. And these are really fun. Lots of great activities that we do. We sort of usually rent a very nice place somewhere, live together in community, and then participate in some pretty cool activities. So this year we've got 3 weekends planned. The fall weekend we're going to be spending in Tofino on Vancouver Island, kayaking, surfing, probably at the hot springs as well. We're going to spend the winter family day long weekend skiing in Kamloops at Sun Peaks this year, and then we're going to spend the spring one up at Whistler. So some just quick little pictures from the last time we were out there doing some kayaking. That's the boys getting ready to go out and surf in the ocean in November. Off skiing at, we were skiing at Big White last year, but we'll be going to Sun Peaks this year. We mix it up, go to different resorts each year. And then up at Whistler, one of the attractions up there is the zip lines, and that's pretty fun to get to ride those. So those are options that the boys have for those long weekends. They're actually very popular trips, and lots of boys who live nearby would like to go on them as well. We offer priority to students who live far away and couldn't go home for those long weekends because it's simply not practical. And if there are extra spaces, then boys who live a little closer are welcome to join in as well. During those holiday times, the boys do have to leave. We have to close and clean Harker Hall and all those kinds of things, give our staff a bit of a break. We will help arrange rides to the airport for students if we have information in advance. So you need to give us the flight information. The boys are notoriously bad at putting the wrong information into the website. We like to have the actual flight confirmation so we know what flight number. That also allows us to track when the boys are coming back if the flights are early or late, so we don't send staff to the airport to sit there for 2.5 hours because the flight is delayed. We'll keep an eye on the websites. So if you could, please send us copies of flight itineraries if you would like rides to and from the airport. And the piece that goes along with this, as boarding students and many students traveling internationally, it can be quite challenging with respect to flight times. It's very important that if there's a need to go early, if the break starts Friday at lunch, but the flight needs to go Friday in the morning, that you communicate that with us early, and that gets run past the student's head of grade and also by myself so that we know what the student's plans are. Please do try to avoid planning travel days for school days. We have a very busy schedule and the boys need that academic time at the senior school. So to the best of your ability, please do avoid that kind of overlap. Almost there. I just wanted to mention a few other bits and pieces about the communication side of things. I have mentioned the blog and the video streaming, so information available to you through those methods. The school sends out their weekly newsletter. You'll also be receiving a Harker Hall newsletter periodically. Every month to 2 months, we'll send out a sort of a summary of the things that are coming up and the things that we've been involved in Harker Hall. And then you should be receiving emails and communicating with your son's house parent on a regular basis throughout the year. If you have questions, be in touch. You'll also just hear periodically a little update on how things are going. Along with that, you'll be receiving the school's report cards, and the advisors will be providing a comment on your son's progress living in community through that report card. You'll receive formal communication in the form of grades and reports in October. So the first time you'll get a formal communication, one of these dates here, that would be some sort of midterm marks, give you a bit of an idea of how things are going at the start of the year, and some comments to go along with that. Please understand that students coming to St. George's for the first time and potentially coming to St. George's from a faraway place in a very different system, there is a period of adjustment that's involved in becoming a member of our community, and sometimes the marks initially could reflect that. So be prepared to a certain extent for some marks that might be a little bit lower than you would typically expect or that your son may have been receiving in his most recent school. Most of the time that will normalize by Christmas time. So by the time we hit the first term report card, things will tend to even out. He will have figured out the systems of the school. He will have figured out how study time works in the evening and how to use his time effectively. So that first midterm mark can show that we're having challenges or difficulties, and it could lead to further conversation, but it's not something you necessarily need to stress out about. It's really important you read those comments when they come out at those times. It'll give you a much better idea of your son's sort of effort and involvement in the classes. To kind of wrap things up here, the next couple of days can be hard. Sometimes it's harder for you than it is for them. Homesickness is very real. Things that you can do to help. Obviously, stay in touch with your son. Set up specific times to have contact so that he can look forward to that and expect to have that contact with you. It adds some predictability. You should start to make those contacts less frequently as time goes on. You might be in touch every day for the next 2 weeks. Then it might become every other day. It's good to just have a little bit of separation over time once your son gets used to being part of our community and involved and engaged. If you are having a lot of phone calls home, challenges with your son not feeling well, not fitting in, not feeling comfortable yet, please fire your son's advisor, house parent, an email. We probably already see that, but it's great for us to strategize together on how we can help your son overcome that homesickness. So if you have questions about that or concerns, please be in touch with us. We'd love to work with you on that. And to wrap it up here, just again, those key messages that we want you to be aware of, that in order to get the benefits of the boarding experience, this is the reason your sons are here, is to get that boarding experience. They need to be involved, they need to be in boarding, and they need to have balance in their schedules. So they have opportunity and time to be involved in all of the things that we offer in Harker Hall that make it the experience that it really is. And if your son can do these things, he's going to have a great year. We're really looking forward to a great year. I met many of your sons earlier in the day, and I'm very excited about the energy, the enthusiasm. They're such wonderful and polite young men. I'm sure I'll get to see something else a little later on as we go through the year and they get to know us and we get to know them. But they seem like a really wonderful group, and really looking forward to working with them. We're going to wrap up here, and we're going to be heading over to the barbecue in a minute. But if you did have any questions that you would like to ask, I'll be sticking around afterwards. I think Mr. Blackman from the third floor will also be sticking around. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you very much for being here with us this evening. Thank you for entrusting us with your sons. It's going to be a great year. Looking forward to it, and I thank you very much. I think we can head down the stairwell and out. The food will be ready in about 20 minutes.